I've been taught how to talk to you. Hold it together, make the bad look better. Say all the words that I'm supposed to. Bow my head, say amen, yeah, that'll do. Making every dead end look like heaven. Like being okay is the way to reach you. But you're not afraid of all the things I feel.
Is life a pattern of coincidences? Simply mere moments of happenstance that fall together as they may? Random sets of accidents? Or is life divinely orchestrated in such a fashion that we don't always see at the moment, but ultimately the bigger picture is revealed over time? Of course, we all hold varying viewpoints in these matters. I'd like to start by defining two terms. First, coincidence. The occurrence of events that happen at the same time by accident but seem to have some connection. The second, sovereignty of God. There's absolutely nothing that happens in the universe that is outside of God's influence and authority. As a Christian, I hold the view to God being sovereign. Some accept this position while others simply don't. That's the reality. Now, it's important to not confuse man's free will and God's perfect will. Every day, we see the repercussions of man's free will. It occurs, and frankly, sometimes it's ugly, alarming, and sinful. You see, God allows us to make decisions, either in good or bad will. Doing so doesn't take away from God's sovereignty in any way, because He has absolute authority and over time will orchestrate the many moving pieces of our lives to achieve His ultimate purpose and will. I would like to demonstrate for you how God quietly works in the affairs of others by pointing you to the book of Esther. It's the study we have been in for a few weeks. Yes, it's a book of the Bible, and it's somewhat a historical record of ancient Persia. But surprisingly, there is no mention of God in any of its content. Some of the key characters include King Xerxes, who lived lavishly and was heavily persuaded by his officials to remove the former queen, Vashti, due to a twisted view of disobedience and circumstantial laws. Haman, he's the king's second in command. He ultimately used his position to play the king for self-centered gain. Then we have Mordecai and Esther, the two Jewish exiles who lived in simplicity. Later, they discover a much greater purpose for their life as this matter unfolds. There was this regional search for the new queen, and Esther is chosen, and she gracefully steps into this role without any foresight of impending danger. When the new edict that was conjured up by Haman to kill every Jew in the kingdom due to his particular malice towards Mordecai, of course, King Xerxes gave approval of this based on his close relationship with Haman. However, Haman embellished the facts, and he lied about the threat of the Jewish people. He was calculated and cold. Esther approached this serious threat with unique patience and confidence. Honestly, if you or I were in this similar situation, many of us, we may have responded differently, probably by taking some immediate action and challenging Haman. Esther, on the other hand, she fasted and prayed about the matter. Then she decided to invite her adversary to several dinners with the king. During a second dinner appointment, we discover a really interesting conversation. This is from Esther chapter 7, verse 1 through 6. And the Bible says, "So the king and Haman went to Queen Esther's banquet. As they were drinking wine on the second day, the king asked, "Queen Esther, what is your position? It will be given you. What is your request? Even to up half of the kingdom, it will be granted." Then the queen answered, "If I have found favor with you, your majesty, and if it pleases you, grant me my life. This is my petition. And spare my people. This is my request. For I and my people have been sold to be destroyed, killed and annihilated. If we had merely been sold as male and female slaves, I would have kept quiet, because no such distress would justify disturbing the king." King Xerxes asked Queen Esther, "Who is he? Where is he, the man who has dared to do such a thing?" Esther said, "An adversary and an enemy, this vile Haman." Well, was all of this just a matter of pure coincidence? Everything that was taking place? I don't think so. God was working behind the scenes, even as Haman was scheming and planning and plotting. Esther was in the right position at the most opportune time to speak up for innocent people. Keep in mind, Esther's noble cause could have been easily crushed by the king. Haman, he had incredible influence and power. And it wasn't so long ago that this same king was the one who dismissed Queen Vashti for disobeying his commands. This was really risky for Esther. You have to understand also that women and even the queen didn't have such prominence in this culture. That leads me to consider another of one of the life lessons in this series, number 10. A careful appeal to facts based on truth can persuade others. Take notice of Esther. She didn't react out of panic or exaggerated feelings. Of course, there was emotion involved, and the threat was real. However, she simply presented the truth. Esther, being a Jew, it presented quite a dilemma for the king. Would he allow her to be killed? Haman, he had to be in complete shock, being that this new information, it changed the entire dynamic. He did not understand that Esther herself was a Jew. Well, at the moment, King Xerxes left enraged, and for good reason. He was now beginning to understand that Haman had been playing him like a fiddle. When the king returned after he was enraged, Haman was actually in a more compromising situation because he got rather close in proximity to Esther. He was probably begging for mercy. Well, the king assumed Haman was getting fresh with his queen, and that was the last straw. At the snap of a finger, Haman's head was covered, and that's not a good sign for things to come. Esther's character included grace and truthfulness. She had won over the king. She was to be protected while Haman was sent off to his very own gallows. What would you see here in all of this? The very sovereignty of God. It's seen all over in our life's circumstances, in the many brushstrokes of the larger portrait. Was it a coincidence that Esther happened to be the queen during this pivotal time? No way. God allowed all of this to take place or occur for a greater good. And that leads me to this week's big question. Have you ever seen God take a difficult situation and bring some good from the pain? I want you to discuss that with your family or a friend. I would also welcome your discussion in the comments below. It's important to look for the good in any circumstance. If we do look well enough and we dig deep enough, you can find the good. Truthfulness or facts, they always go a long way. What's interesting as well is God can change the heart of a nation's leader. He did that in King Xerxes' case. And he's done that often throughout history. God often utilizes humble people like Esther or Mordecai in this process. I hope that you can be encouraged knowing that God is completely sovereign and his will is being done even right now. Let's honor him and the Bible. God bless you, and that is this week's Sunday Spotlight.